more you eat, the more you fart. Yeah, that's part of the fun about beans. Haha! Welcome to the Laugh Pig Kitchen. I'm Laura. This is Quarantine Cuisine, where we're learning to make do with what we can find during this global crisis that we're experiencing right now. Today we're going to do beans. And I was just looking around at what kind of beans I happen to have in the house. I know I bought some extra of late as we've been stocking up. But I always keep a stock here in the house. What we're going to be making today is pinto beans. It's one of our favorites here in the South, and in Mexican cuisine and stuff, we cook a lot of pinto beans. They cook up nice and creamy. They're, an enjoyable bean to eat, if you will. I had a big quart jar of chickpeas. I'm thinking falafel maybe on our way, or just a bunch of hummus with those chickpeas. I had a partial package of black beans. Really great Cuban, Latin American cuisine, Central America, Southern America, South America, excuse me. Black beans are used quite a bit, so lots of good uses for those. Black-eyed peas. All of my Southern folks have heard of black-eyed peas. This is one of the things we eat for luck at New Year's. And so I've got a big bag of black-eyed peas. I have a great recipe for black-eyed pea soup that we'll probably be doing using some of these black-eyed peas, because being absolutely honest, black-eyed peas don't have my favorite texture of beans because they're a little bit dry and mealy on the inside, but I do love them in a soup or in something else. So there's black-eyed peas. And here in town, for my Knoxville people, at Downtown West, I was actually there this morning just kind of checking out how things are, how stock is in the grocery stores, because we ran our potato soup from last night and some fresh biscuits over to my mother-in-law and dropped those off on her doorstep. Hi, Audrey. I hope you enjoyed that soup a bunch. We didn't even go inside. We just dropped it off and took off, and since we're all kind of quarantining ourselves. But I came back by Downtown West. There's at least one Mexican grocery store there. There are two Indian markets there. There's a Honduran market and a Turkish market. All of these awesome little ethnic grocery stores there. The Mexican market still had a lot of meat. I know meat's been one of those things that people have had trouble finding. And meat substitutes are one of the things we're going to address in Quarantine Cuisine, is what can we do when we don't have meat? What can we do to substitute for it? Stay tuned for that. I found some beautiful avocados, limes, still had a lot of fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. I was really surprised at the Indian market of how many fresh vegetables they still had, and lots of meat, particularly chicken. I know chicken's been hard to find. The Indian market has lots of chicken. So then I picked up, they have these these are actually the small ones, bags of dry beans that they have. I had no idea how many different kinds of beans in the world there really were, because in most of the grocery stores here in the South where we are, you find your pinto beans, you find your black-eyed peas, you find your black beans, you find your kidney beans, your great northern beans, all of those. These are called Valranguni beans, and to me they look very much like great northern beans, and I expect they're going to cook up about the same. And this is a 9-bean mix that I thought we could probably make some really cool soup or something out of. They've got all different kinds and sizes of beans in there. Very cool. They had lots and lots of bags of lentils too, which you can do so much with lentils, speaking of meat substitutes and all. We'll probably do a separate one just on lentils. But for today, let's talk about pinto beans. I put these into soak last night. When I put them in, they probably came up to about here, and covered them with water, plus like 2 or 3 inches above, just to make sure that you've got plenty of water to soak these guys in. They've been soaking all night long. Why do you soak beans? Well, look at the beans in the bag and how hard they are. Beans are made that way for a reason. Beans are seeds, and until they get wet, they stay good where you can use them forever. Beans hardly ever go bad. But to cook them, you're going to need to soften them up a little bit. Soaking them overnight is about the best way to do it. But that being said, if you wanted to make beans today, and I didn't soak any beans last night, but I have some beans, Here's the quick soak method that you can use for cooking dry beans if you forget to soak them overnight. It doesn't make them, quite as soft as soaking them overnight does, but it's pretty darn close. And what you do is take your dry beans, put them in your saucepan, cover them with water a couple of inches, bring it to a boil. Put nothing else in there, the beans and the water. Bring it to a boil. Let it boil for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. Turn the fire off, cover your pot, and let it sit for about 20 minutes. Let those beans sit for about 20 minutes. Drain that water off after 20 minutes and then work from here, from where we are right now. There's a quick soak method. All right, I'm going to drain these guys. I don't know if you can tell that water's cloudy. Some people say, oh, you're draining off nutrients by getting rid of that water. I may be a few, but I'm also draining off a lot of the gas-producing stuff when I drain off of that water. So there we go. There's our beans. 4 cloves of garlic, minced. 1/2 of a medium onion, diced. This is a bottle of sesame oil. I'm turning my burner on a little bit below medium. We talked about oil yesterday some. I found this bottle that was partially used in my pantry, so I thought, this would probably be a good time to go ahead and use my older stuff. Since I've now bought and stocked up on some newer stuff, I'm going to go ahead and use my older stuff first. And putting probably a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half in my pan to heat up. Speaking of things that are older, stay tuned. Our next episode after this is going to be addressing must-goes. We have about 1 day a week where I pull the must-goes out of the refrigerator, the stuff that may be past its prime, but it still can be made into something delicious and edible. And I'm pretty sure some of you, much like me, have stocked up your refrigerator in the last week or so, and we didn't bother cleaning out stuff before we did. So I know there are things in the bottom of my crispers and there's things in the back of my fridge that we're going to go investigate and pull out everything that needs to be used today, that must go today. And that's going to be the rest of our dinner tonight along with these beans that I'm making. So stay tuned for that. We're going to do must-goes after this. All right, my oil's getting heated up. I'm throwing my onion and my garlic into my oil. Give it a stir. You'll notice that, 75 or 80% of my recipes begin with saute some garlic and onion. We do a whole lot of that. All right, as I'm sauteing the garlic and onion, when they get a little bit soft, we're going to add the beans to it. We're going to cover them with water, and we're going to let them cook for a while. Yeah, that's how difficult it is to cook with dry beans. It's kind of like rice. People are really intimidated to see a bag of dry beans. I have no idea how to make those edible. And look how easy it really is. Look what we're learning while we're having to be cooped up at home. How about that? Speaking of learning, shout out to Hope Ely here in Knoxville, who was kind enough to share my information on Facebook last night and said that she may be very well learning how to cook while she's cooped up at home. So bravo, Hope, you are just like sunshine in a bottle. You're just awesome. So thanks for that. All right. These guys, again, I cut them up pretty small so they cook pretty fast. And these are going to be simmering all afternoon anyway, so you don't really have to worry that much about getting your vegetables super, super soft. It's just nice to let them start releasing their oils and their flavor and all before we put the beans in. But beans are going in. Stir them all up. Some people say don't salt your beans until they've cooked enough to be soft, or it may make the outside husk tough on them. I've done both ways. I've salted from the beginning. I've waited and salted at the end, in the middle, whatever. I don't really notice that much difference. But I've kind of gotten in the habit of letting my beans cook for a while and then salting later on. I'm going to throw a little wrench on that by adding some ham to it, so I will be adding some salt to it. But I'm going to leave that one up to you. You can salt halfway through, you can salt at the beginning, you can salt at the end. you know, however you want to do that. Here's you a little secret. I've got a pot of steamy water that I keep on low over here. My Mamaw Clift made beans at least twice a week since I could remember. She was one of the best bean makers I know, and one of her secrets was as the beans were cooking, she wouldn't cover them with real deep water when she would first start cooking them. She'd just cover them good, let them cook for a while, and they soak that water up. Then she takes her hot water. She said, never add cold water to beans. Add hot water so they'll keep cooking. And she'd add a little bit more hot water, let them soak that up, add a little more hot water, and she had the most creamy, delicious beans that I've ever eaten. So, shout out to Mamaw Clift. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to add some hot water. We're just covering the beans good and putting the water back on the burner over there. I'm going to turn my heat down. I'm about halfway in between medium and low because I want them to go ahead and get pretty hot and bubbly, and then I may turn them down a little bit more. Cover your pot and you're good to go. I'm going to add a little something. You can if you have it. If you don't, sorry, but I don't know if you can read this or not. It says ham, 11/29/19. We had a honey baked ham at Thanksgiving. And we had quite a bit of honey baked ham left over after Thanksgiving. So I packaged them up in small packages and put them in the freezer. I pulled a big hunk of honey baked ham out of the freezer this morning. That's going in my beans. So now, it's not only pinto beans, it's ham and beans. How delicious is that going to be on top of some of that rice that we made yesterday? Yes! Beans, beans. Good for the heart. All right, folks. That's beans. They're simmering. We'll see how they turn out. They're going to be delicious. You know, they're probably going to take, I'm going to give them about 3 hours probably to cook. You can do it faster. Turn your heat up. Just mind them a little bit more often so you don't ever want your beans to boil dry. They end up tasting like weird boiled peanuts or something. So you want to keep an eye on your beans. If you want them to cook fast, you got to keep more of an eye on them because they're going to be boiling quicker. They're going to be soaking up water quicker. If you've got the time, see, it's not quite 3 o'clock in the afternoon. These are going to come in just about perfectly for dinner at 6 o'clock tonight. So that's the plan. All right, folks. This was our bean episode of Quarantine Cuisine. Like I said, coming up is must-goes. Let's see what we've got that really needs to go, and let's see what we can make out of it. Good job to everybody out there that's hanging in there with us. I know the Knox County Health Department today declared a safer at home order stating that all non-essential businesses need to be closed and this, that, and the other. So for everybody that's hanging in there, y'all are doing great. Keep it up. We can do this. And hey, to my people in Arkansas who are giving me such great positive reviews of Quarantine Cuisine, thanks so much. I mean, these are people that I've known almost my entire life. Teresa, Valinda, thanks guys. Rodney chimed in yesterday. Rodney was my best friend from elementary school all the way through college. So awesome. Hi, Rodney. And to everybody out there, I miss you guys a bunch. This is an interesting and challenging time, but we're going to be okay. See, I wore my Don't Panic Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy shirt today. So don't panic. Let's make some beans. Take care, people.